Welcome into the Lounge, presented by DraftKings. I'm Ryan Mink here with Garrett Downing, and we are thrilled to sit down with Ravens offensive lineman Andrew Vorhees. And Andrew, I'll start here. I was talking to Tyler Linderbaum the other day, and I was just chatting with him. I was like, man, Vorhees looks like big. Like he looks like this offseason program or something. Whatever he's been doing, he looks pretty yoked up. And he was like, are you sure it's not just the beard?
Come on, Tyler.
No credit.
you know, he's got to humble everybody, you know. So A, is he just wrong? And B, what's up with the beard?
Yeah, well, first of all, just thanks for having me on today.
Yeah.
But Tyler, come on, man. We've been working out this pretty much entire off season together, and you sold me short.
He throws you right under the bus.
Right under the bus, man. Come on.
Immediately.
It's your own people sometimes.
I know.
I tell them that often. Yeah, beard's new, though. Beard's new for sure. Guys kind of encouraged me at the end of last season to just let it go, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
So guys like Roger Rosengarten and Tyler were culprits in that.
Yeah.
And I've since let it go. And I've trimmed it up since a little bit, but I've tried to let it be as natural as possible because this is my first time ever doing it. So it's been an experience. My wife has grown fond of it. At first, she was a little skeptical, but as it kind of went through that awkward phase and it kind of filled out and got to where it is now in terms of length, she started to come around. So
okay. It's an offensive lineman thing.
It definitely is an O-lineman thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like the beard just gives you like superpowers, super blocking powers. No, right. Roger didn't have a beard though. He was babyface last year, right?
I feel like he kind of ebbs and flows. I feel like he does sometimes and then doesn't.
One of those guys can't stick with it. I feel that.
That's me.
You've committed.
You've committed. Look, I there's no beard. I could go for a month without shaving. I probably still wouldn't have a beard. So, I will not have a beard in my future. But it's funny you joke about with you and Tyler Linderbaum working together this offseason. I literally feel like, do you guys get your mail delivered here? I mean, you guys have been here every single day. I don't think I've seen you not in the building since last season ended.
Yeah, obviously we took a little bit of time off right when season got over.
Like an afternoon.
No, but in all seriousness, though, we took about 2 weeks off. We did an O-line trip, which was pretty fun. All of us, for the most part, were there and attended. So really enjoyed that. But then I got away, took some personal time with my wife, and then I wanted to get back here and start training. I just the strength staff we have, the athletic training staff as well, I think they're top tier and they know what they're doing, and I put my full faith and trust in them to kind of develop my body and get me right for what's to come. So the off-season program, which is where we're at now, and I feel like they did a really good job, so I commend them for that. But yeah, Tyler and I were pretty much here every day once we made the commitment to come back and start our own off season.
Yeah. Right. What was the offensive lineman trip?
So super long story short, we decided to go down to Miami together. So it came down to going to Arizona or Miami or Puerto Rico. So
good
kind
options.
of all good options, but kind of all random. I think at that point, just with playing all the cold games at the back half of last season, I think we were all ready to go enjoy some warm weather. So Miami was like high 60s, low 70s, and that was like, it might as well have been 100 degrees to us at that point in the year. Just because, right, we played in Buffalo, and it was, I mean, you guys remember just freezing cold, and we're faced up against all the elements. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a great time, though. We spent a few days down there. Rented a huge house, did all that, but it was fun because we all got to spend time together as a group, as the 2024 Ravens offensive line for one last official time. So we all appreciated it, and everyone who went had a blast.
Was it almost everybody from the whole line?
It was, I think only one or two guys missed. I'm not going to name drop them on the spot right now, but
I'm sure you gave him a hard time at the time.
Yeah, things come up. But Charlie Kohler actually, as an honorary offensive lineman,
he crashed.
Nice.
He got in. Yeah, so we enjoyed his presence down there, and he really he added a lot to the group. So that was fun.
Nice. He definitely does.
All right, going back to the weight room, we joke about you being bigger, but like you do legitimately look bigger. Have you added more even muscle? I mean, you were a big guy before, but have you even gotten bigger and stronger, you feel like?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it. Time will tell once we go through all of our testing and we get put on the DEXA scan and all the lean muscle mass, different metrics and stuff that we have and utilize here. So, but I definitely feel like I've gotten stronger. I think all of our strength coaches would agree. I think anecdotally too. I think Tyler would agree. Kind of, I guess, behind closed doors.
I'm sure he would.
I still can't believe he threw me under the bus, man. Come on.
That's Tyler.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you got to give him a hard time about that. It is like the time that you're spending here in these off season, even before the official program started, like as we're talking about, is really valuable. Do you like how important is it in your mind to like just invest the time? Because honestly, since you've been drafted, like you've been a guy that's just been here, you're from the West Coast, but you've come and you've made home here and you've really committed to being here. The first year you're working your way back from the injury and now you're working going into a big off season and all that. Like how important in your mind, in your development has it been to just commit to the off season workout?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right in terms of I'm from California, went to school in Los Angeles, and then ended up on the East Coast. So for me, I might as well be on the other side of the world. I mean, I've never really been out here before, so this has all been new to me, and it's been a great experience so far, and I've really enjoyed my time out here, and I really have found home in Baltimore. So I just, again, if I'm out here, right, it might as well as be here in the building getting better. That's kind of my whole philosophy. And then again, credit to our staff and our support staff, right, strength coaches, etc. Really believe in them, and I feel like if I give them 100%, they'll give me 100% return, and we'll kind of see where this goes. And again, like you said, I basically did this last year as well, and it paid huge dividends. And so felt confident in them doing this again, and I found myself here pretty much every day this offseason.
That's cool. So I'm curious what you took away from last season. Like your rookie season was basically a redshirt year, getting healthy.
Yep.
And then last year was your first chance to play football again, take NFL snaps. Like what did you take away from last year?
Yeah, just taking a year off from football in regards to the injury, and then getting back into the speed of things was a huge adjustment, right? So it's obviously a big step when you go up a level in terms of competition, right? High school to college is a pretty big deal, but then going from college to the National Football League, it's like, whoa. But then you compound that with being out for a year, coming off a major injury. It was a lot at first, and it took a while to adapt, I feel like. But yeah, last year was interesting, just dealing with what I was dealing with in terms of my injury. But yeah, last year learned a lot of great things, and going forward, I just think it's another notch in my tool belt that I feel like I can kind of lean back on in terms of adversity and grow and learn from it.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty incredible that you won the starting job out of training camp. Here you were essentially a rookie, like you said, coming off the major knee injury, and you won that job. And then you start the first 3 games and then unfortunately suffer an ankle injury, which I'm sure had to be pretty bad for you to come out of the starting lineup. Can you talk about what that experience early in the season, being a starter, winning that job, what that does for you in terms of building the floor for you for this year? Yeah,
I just want to give credit to my coaches. And I know last year was particularly interesting with the passing of Joe D. And dealing with that at such a unique time in terms of where we were, right, in terms of our schedule and year. I think Coach Warhop came in and really took command of the room when kind of needed a leader and needed a figure to come in and just guide us, right, because we still had to go play a football season. So, Coach Hop did a great job, and obviously he gave me the nod, and I earned the spot out of camp. Then, like you said, suffered an ankle injury, which was unfortunate in regards to not only the timing, but just because I just had come off a major knee injury, right? So it's hard to describe, but if you just take a macro perspective and just realize that it's just all part of the journey, it really helps you just clear in mind, because I feel like if you focus on something, especially that after my major knee injury, and it just could be like,
come on,
daunting. Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah.
But when you take the 30,000 foot approach and really take a step back, you realize that you're in the grand scheme of things. It's I don't want to say it's not a big deal, but it's just another obstacle to overcome.
As you had that starting experience, and then McCary stepped into when you got hurt, he shuffled things around. Roger went into the starting lineup. McCary goes over to left guard, and then he ends up playing that for he's playing well, and it's like he kind of earned his, of course, veteran player, just got a nice contract himself.
Absolutely.
So it's like, how did you deal with that? Like when you're like we were just talking about, you're working your way back, and then the injury happens, and then you're just like, all right, I want to get back out there. I'm healthy now, but like this guy's playing really well. So like, how did you kind of
basically Wally pipped?
Yeah, it's like the tough situation, but also knowing that like you could step back in at any point because offensive line is a position where you cycle through a ton of guys. How did you deal with all that last year?
Yeah, well, two things. So first of all, the relationships that we have in this offensive line room is super unique.
I can vouch for that. I just saw you guys all hanging out and having lunch. I mean, it's like It was a party down there.
Yeah, no, we are great friends off the field, and I'm sure that's other teams can say that, or other position rooms or whatever, but I truly believe that we are unique and that we are probably one of the closest rooms in the National Football League. So just from that alone, right, like there's no jealousy, there's no
animosity.
No animosity. We all just want the best and want team success first and foremost. So that's just a credit to everyone's maturity in the room. And then, like I said, because we are so close and have those relationships with one another, it kind of made it easy in terms of like there not being animosity, like you were saying, Ryan. And then secondly, Patrick McCary, man, you talk about an incredible person, was playing right tackle, right? Incredible athlete, playing right tackle, was working basically at right tackle all camp. I go down after the Dallas game. He gets moved from right tackle to left guard on a Tuesday and is asked to go play. We played the Bills.
Yeah.
That was a Sunday night?
Sunday night football game.
Sunday night football, prime time against the Bills, and goes out there, plays an amazing game.
Yeah.
Right. I think the first play it
was a Derrick Henry run.
Yeah. And I think left guard was the only position he had not started a game at in his career. Like he's a unicorn, but that was the only spot he had.
That was it. Yeah. That was his first start. So he completed the 5-piece.
The trifecta.
I was going to say. So but seriously though, that anybody who's played football, that's incredible, and to be able to do that at this level is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So huge credit to him. He earned it. He went out there and played well. And so it was good to see that from him, and obviously being a veteran in the room, Patrick McCary, right? It was awesome to see him shine and get his opportunity.
Yeah. What did you learn about yourself over those first 3 starts, and how did you feel like you played? Where did you feel like, all right, this is really working, or where do I need to improve? Just talk about those 3 games.
Yeah, so obviously outcomes of the first 2 weren't what we wanted, right? So we go out to Kansas City and lose on that Thursday night game with a devastating ending, right?
Yeah.
Because Isaiah Likely was a pair of white cleats away potentially from scoring. So that was interesting. That was my first game back, right, from my injury, and that was my first game in the National Football League.
Emotions had to be run high for that one.
Emotions were high. The stadium was, as you can imagine, rocking, defending Super Bowl champions on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah. That's a hell of a way to start for you, man. That's pretty cool.
I'm sure the butterflies, you had to be.
Yeah. And I just, again, try to take it all in, right?
Yeah.
And that was an awesome experience. But, go next, so lose that game, unfortunately. Then we play the Raiders the next week and have another devastating, just weird loss. Kind of indescribable loss, really. Didn't feel like we should have lost it by any means. And then go to Dallas, and then we just have a running fest out there. I mean, Derrick Henry had however many yards. I think we rushed for like almost 270. Somewhere in that ballpark. But then unfortunately, that's when I went down. But those 3 games, just wow, like it's a lot different than college. You know, you see it, and it's one thing to watch it, but when you go out there and experience it for yourself for the first time or first couple of times, right? For me, it was fast paced. It was like, wow, like this is it. This is what the highest level of football's like. So it was fun. I really enjoyed it, and look forward to more.
Yeah.
Do you feel like now entering this year and obviously OTAs, minicamp, training camp, we have a long way to go, but do you feel like I'm a much better player than I was a year ago at this same point?
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. I think that is true. You go back and had the opportunity to play late in the season against Cleveland.
You got a lot of snaps.
So I got a majority of those snaps. Felt like the time between the Dallas game and what was that, week 17?
Yeah.
It was last week. Yeah, regular season game of the year. I felt like I went out there and showed to our coaching staff, my teammates, the world really, that I had developed and become a much better player. I think I had a pretty great game, and so I think that was exciting to a lot of people, including myself. But yeah, I think definitely would say I've become a better football player through all this.
That's cool. So now you go into this season, and it's different in the sense that you're not coming back from the injury and you've played, and so it's that stuff is all in the past. But you're in a similar situation that you're coming in and you have a chance to start for compete for a starting job. How do you look at that and just the competition that you'll have in front of you over the course of this offseason into training camp?
Yeah, I think I just go into every year just trying to be the best football player I can be, and then just let the rest take care of itself. You can get in your head and you start thinking about numbers and positions and draft or whatever. You just go out there and do what you can do to be the best football player that you can be. You'll put yourself in a position of success for the most part, right? I know obviously things are sometimes out of your control or non-favorable, but that's kind of been my mentality throughout my football career. Just work hard, do the right thing, and the rest will take care of itself. I really do truly believe that.
Yeah. How fun is it with this offensive line? Like, you guys run the ball as well as anybody in the league with Lamar and Derek. And I know offensive linemen generally love if you can have a system that you're running downhill and you're milking the clock in the fourth quarter and you can control the game and kind of take the will out of the opponent. That is just something that offensive linemen cherish. Like, how much do you enjoy playing in this system on an offensive line?
Yeah, no, I mean, running the ball as an offensive lineman is awesome. Just multiple reasons, right? You just eat up the clock.
Yeah.
You take away possessions from the opponents. You keep the chains going, and it is demoralizing to defenders when you're moving them off the ball and you're having great success. So it's really fun. It is like one of the gems of being an offensive lineman is being able to run the ball and run the ball really well. So super grateful that again, we have an awesome offensive coordinator, awesome offensive line coach. Even our receivers, like a lot of people don't realize it, but they play a big role in the success of the run game. And their selflessness out there is amazing. They'll sell out and run across the field to go make a block 30 yards away. That Derrick Henry will then spring for another 20 yards or touchdown or whatever. So it's awesome to be around a bunch of selfless dudes who are passionate and just want the team to be successful.
What's it like playing next to Tyler Linderbaum? Wisecracks aside, this is your chance to get him back. I was
going to say, Tyler threw you under the bus.
Exactly.
Now we're asking you to compliment him.
This is your opportunity, right? What's it like playing next to Tyler Linderbaum, and what can you tell us behind the scenes about Tyler?
Tyler's a special player, and then Ronnie is too, right? Ronnie being a left tackle. They're both special players, but Tyler, man, he's wise out there. He sees stuff that a lot of us don't necessarily see and is able to process and kind of predict stuff. So
like blitzes and just alignments and things like that.
I mean, defensive coordinators are smart. They try to hide stuff and blitzes, whatever it may be. Tyler does a great job of sniffing it out. So it's incredible playing next to him, just from his mental sharpness, but then obviously his physical ability as well. you just see some of the stuff he's able to do out there, and it's just like, how? Like, he's so fast, and he plays with great leverage and great effort, and he always ends up on our teach tape is what we call it, kind of our highlight tape. So, but yeah, it definitely makes football a lot easier when you're playing next to great players.
Yeah.
I'm curious on the other side. So you mentioned Ronnie. Like with Ronnie, he's interesting because last year he played great, then obviously got another contract, but he really took on like a leadership role on the offensive line. And going into last year, there's this question, you got to replace all these starters, and like everyone was questioning on the offensive line. And like Ronnie kind of stuck his neck out there for the group as a whole, being like, it's going to be a good group. I have confidence in this group. Like, everybody chill out. Like, this is going to be a good offensive line. As one of like the young players who was competing to win one of those starting jobs that people were wondering about, what did it mean to you when you had Ronnie, who's like the leader, who's got the big contract, he's a Pro Bowl player, going out on a limb and saying like, everybody chill, this line, these young players are going to be good?
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome when you have the veteran leadership in the room like that. It's just, they become the focal point, right? So when, obviously, again, like all the adversity we faced early in the season when passing a Joe D, Ronnie was really somebody to lean on in our room, and so that was huge for us. But then also he backed it up last year. I felt like he played a majority, if not all the snaps, right? I mean, we could look at the numbers and see exactly what it was, but he backed it up. I mean, he went out there, and I think he played at a high caliber. Was a high caliber player last year for us, and obviously was backed up by a pretty lucrative extension. So that's exciting for him for sure. But yeah, definitely having somebody like that in the room, especially in the offensive line room, really helps us out because, you kind of can get lost in the weeds when you don't have that veteran leadership. And I'm not saying other guys didn't, but it was encouraging to see Ronnie kind of take that role or and just kind of backed it up, right, with his play, and it was just a cornerstone for us.
Yeah, obviously with Pat leaving in free agency, that's one loss, but for the most part, a lot of continuity on this offensive line, a lot more than the year prior, right, when there's a ton of turnover. I mean, really, you have starters coming back at every single spot, including yourself. So how much of a difference do you think that will make this upcoming season? And do you guys look around the room and say, we can really be really special? If we, I feel like the offensive line got so much better as the season went on and kept growing and everything, and Roger getting better. Like, how good do you feel like this group can be this season because of all that continuity?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could be as good as we want to be. So, again, you said, like, there's a bunch of starters coming back. There's continuity in the room. Relationships, right, are getting stronger between us, right? But I'm excited to see what it looks like out there when all five of us are out there, whoever the five may be, right? But ultimately, I'm excited, and I think just all of it's going to pay dividends on the back end for us, and again, just excited to see what we're about.
Right.
Last one for me. We spent all this time talking about off-season training and going through the weight room stuff, which is all great. But I feel like for an offensive lineman, you've got to reach a point in the off-season where you're like, can we put a helmet on? Can we put shoulder pads on? Like, there's only so much weightlifting, drills, classroom work. Like, at what point do you just get tired of all that stuff and be like, let's get into training camp and put the pads on?
Now, it definitely happens in phase 3 when we have just the helmets on.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, we have the rules out there, what we can and can't do, and we have helmets on, so your head's protected, and it's just like the rest of your body is almost sacrificial out there. You feel like you almost feel invincible. You got the helmet on, right? Yeah. It's like you're fully suited up. So, sometimes that could get a little chippy out there, and it's hard for us in the trenches, both sides of the ball. We try to do our best and don't want to get pushed around.
Yeah.
When you have 300 plus pound offensive defensive linemen butting heads who are both not trying to get pushed around, it kind of creates a little bit of an interesting mix, to say the least. So no, but we're excited, and I think a lot of us are anxious to get back out there again. We just started phase 2 this week, so we're out there on the field, but we're all separate, right, in our own position groups and stuff, and but yeah, we're looking forward to it for sure.
It can't be fun to block Nnamdi Madubuike and Travis Jones, though.
No. Not at all.
Those guys.
Yeah, all our entire D line. I mean, it extends beyond just them.
Yeah.
But man, does that get you better?
Yeah.
I mean, having to go through that. Obviously, when I came out of the starting lineup last year, being with the scout team, I was blocking those guys every day. And,
that's probably why you improved so much.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's part of the
seriously.
development.
Yeah, exactly. Part of my development for sure.
Yeah.
A testament to it.
Yeah.
So then getting the opportunity to go back out there against Cleveland, week 17. My play I felt like showed that I developed and became a better football player.
All right, last one for me is, every combine now we bring back out the clip of you doing the bench press with the knee brace on, crutching your way out there. For listeners who don't know, Andrew put up the most bench press reps. How many was it? 30.
I think it was 38.
Yeah.
It was somewhere around there.
Yeah, high 30s.
Yeah.
With a torn ACL and the knee brace and everything. So the question is, since you've been in the weight room a lot and you do look bigger, he does look bigger.
Tyler.
He is Tyler. Do you think without a shredded knee, you think you could even beat that? Like, what's your bench press limit?
Yeah, I mean that's such a unique exercise that we do, and people have opinions on it. Like, why do we even do it at the combine? Like, what are we really measuring? And so it's unique in a sense that, like, that's something that we specifically focus on
in training
those couple months that we get the opportunity to train for the combine. So we don't do stuff like that anymore. Definitely feel stronger than I did back then. Who knows what I could do now? Definitely feel like
50s.
I could do more.
50s,
Easy.
But yeah, it's kind of an old story.
Yeah.
Not trying to beat a dead horse, but learned a lot from that. Grew as a football player, grew as a person, more importantly. But again, it's just a thing I learned in college, or not learned, I guess, heard in college. There's events and responses to the events equals your outcome. We can't change the events in our life, but we can change our responses, and that's going to dictate the outcome. So really, at the end of the day, I saw my injury as nothing more than an opportunity to learn, get better, figure it out. And so, like I said, definitely felt like I grew as a person, and it was unfortunate that it had to be there and then. But, things all work out at the end of the day. I'm grateful to be here. Probably wouldn't be here if that wouldn't have happened. Who knows where I would have ended up. So just thankful for everything that happens in life, and we'll see what happens next. Hopefully it's nothing crazy like that ever again. But, we'll figure it out. And like I said, every time those events come around, we'll choose a great response, and great outcomes will follow.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to a lot of great outcomes this upcoming season and beyond. Thank you so much, Andrew. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome back into the Lounge Podcast. We are coming to you from the SeatGeek studio. We want to mention our partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. They are an official sports betting partner of the Baltimore Ravens. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. So really enjoyed sitting down with Andrew. He's one of our favorite guys. Just really smart, hardworking guy. Love his attitude, his perspective, and he's a good player and a great guy.
Yeah, good dude. And I'm really excited for what could be in store for him in 2025. I mean, you think back and you're like, oh, well, here's a 7th round pick, but really, he's not a 7th round pick. I mean, the only reason he lasted that long was because of the ACL injury. He would have gone, who knows, 3rd, 4th round. He would have been a highly projected guy. So I look at him still through that lens of, here is a bona fide dude from USC, big body, got the work ethic, got the great attitude, all those things, and now he's really entering what's truly his 2nd season.
Yeah.
I think that he could be one of the Ravens' kind of big surprise breakout players.
Yeah, look, we all last year thought that he had real potential to be a starter on this offensive line, and he was. As we talked about, he won the starting left guard job at a training camp, and I think he would have remained the starter all year had he not had the injury. And then basically, as we discussed, McCary came in there. Roger Rosengarten moved into right tackle, and so McCary switched positions.
It worked.
And then the offensive line was playing well, and they started rattling off a few wins.
Well, you have a 80-some-yard Derrick Henry touchdown run on the first touch with that new offensive line configuration. Right. You're like, you know what? Maybe we'll stick with this.
Right. But I don't think it was – I think it had more to do with the fact that this new group was playing so well and not really anything to do with Andrew's play. You know, I think it's like he got hurt. And I think like as we look at it now, this offensive line configuration, I know it's going to be a competition. Nothing's going to be handed over, but I think that he's going to be the starting left guard as the way I look at it right now. I think he's the odds-on favorite for that. Mm-hmm. And if he does end up in that position, I think he's just going to play well. I think he's going to be a good player.
Well, the team kind of signaled that with their moves this offseason, right? They haven't gone out and gotten a veteran guard to compete with Andrew Vorhees, not yet, and maybe they still could at some point, right? But, you know, they re-signed Ben Cleveland, who Andrew beat out for the job last year. Mm-hmm. And then they drafted Emory Jones Jr. in the third round, but he has a labrum issue right now, so he might not be on the field until training camp. So, you know, Emory was a player that I think a lot of us looked at and said, all right, here's the competition for Voorhees. Well, he's going to be late to that competition.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe Emory develops and eventually becomes that guy, but Andrew Voorhees is going to try to do to Emory Jones what Patrick McCary did to him. Mm-hmm. You know, Andrew Voorhees is going to be like, I want to win that starting job. And if I play well enough, if I play great, then Emory's going to have to wait.
Yeah.
You know? And so, and Andrew's certainly capable of doing that. And so, you know, and then the Ravens signed Joe Noteboom, who's a tackle really more than a guard. So the path is there for Andrew, and I think that he has all the ability to capture it.
And it's just interesting because, like, when you compare it to a year ago, like, there was all concern about the offensive line. Understandably so when you're having to replace 3 starters. But now you're bringing back 4 out of 5 starters, and you could even make the argument that it's all 5, at least from the start of it, you know, when you look at it on the whole.
Yeah.
I understand McCary got that nice contract, and so I'm cherry picking a little bit if I would say all 5, but like
you have guys you have 5 guys who started games last year.
Yes.
Or he started the first 3.
Exactly.
And Rosengarten started the last, whatever it was, 14.
Right. So I think that, like, I actually look at this offensive line and I'm like, could this be a real strength of the team? Like compared to a year ago when 100%. It was like, what's this line going to look like? Is it going to be okay? Are these guys how's Ronnie going to come back? And how's all this stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, obviously Ronnie has to stay healthy again, just like he did last year, and he proved himself. And I think he will. He's certainly putting in the work to physically to stay healthy. We just got done talking about Voorhees and the potential that he has. I mean, right now he's probably the biggest question mark on the line just because he has the least experience, but feel pretty darn good coming out of this conversation. And before we had this conversation about his ability to do the job, Tyler Linderbaum's a Pro Bowler. Daniel Faalele's got to continue to progress. You know, I mean, certainly from where he started last season to where he finished, he was a much better player, and he did some things really, really well, and he's got to continue to develop and grow his game. And I think he's only going to get better. He's another hardworking guy and who got a ton of experience last year. And then Roger Rosengarten was awesome as a rookie. What strides can he make? What jumps can he make in year 2? So I agree with you. I think that what was originally the biggest worry going into last season is not nearly as worrisome going into this year and could turn out to be a real strength the way it finished last year.
Right, and if it plays out the way that you just described, where this offensive line just builds off of what it did last year and plays well, man, you look at this offense and there's no holes. There's no holes on the offense, and the offense was historically good last year, but it's like, where could this thing even go from here? If what you just laid out,
it's got to stay healthy. I think that's the key. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
You know, Voorhees was really kind of one of the bigger injuries on offense. And then Zay going down late in the year, in the right at the end. But other than that, I mean, the offensive line was healthy all season long, which is very rare. Knock on wood, that can happen again. That was major that the Ravens were healthy on offense.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, as we look at the offensive line beyond the 5 likely starters, like when they get out there, when all the rookies get integrated with the veterans here over the course of the next couple of weeks in practice, like that offensive line group is basically going to double because they drafted 3 rookies. They drafted Emory Jones, they drafted Garrett Dellinger, and they drafted Carson Vincent.
Yeah.
And so all those guys are going to come into the mix there. And I think Carson Vincent and Dellinger are more developmental, especially Vincent as a tackle, like a little bit more developmental.
And Dellinger is an LSU starter. I think he's a depth piece for now and develop and see if he can become a starter later on. He's 7th round pick, just like, Andrew Vorhees.
Right. And so that's 8 guys right there. Then you add in Ben Cleveland, who you mentioned, and Nick Samak as well, who was a late round pick last year, backup center, can also mix in at guard. He's another guy who's in that mix too. And so there's competition, like not just for the starting jobs, but competition to make the team is going to be really tough. That's going to be one of the, as I look at it right now, I think one of the biggest battles of training camp is the competition for roster spots on the offensive line. Yeah,
and then you have some guys who are coming back from the practice squad, Corey Bullock and other guys like that. I mean, I agree. I think
Joe Noteboom as well in that mix as well. You mentioned him, but
all right, we have Ronnie Stanley, Andrew Vorhees, Tyler Linderbaum, Daniel Falalele, Roger Rosengarten. Those are what you would project as the starting 5 right now.
Right.
Noteboom's your number 6 swing tackle. Your backup guards would be Ben Cleveland and Dellinger
and Emory Jones.
Yep. And then Vincent makes 10.
Right. And then Nick Samak is a backup center
Nick Samak would
guard.
Be 11.
Yeah, so that's 11 guys right there. And I don't think they're going to have 11 spots for offensive linemen on this team. I don't know how many they're going to have exactly, but 11.
You're probably looking at it coming down to a Dellinger versus Samak
versus Cleveland.
Cleveland competition.
Yeah. And of course, all of this is, you got to stay healthy and all this stuff. There's a lot of caveats that you got to throw out here. And there's a lot of time between now and
Can Dellinger take snaps? Wouldn't surprise me if we see him taking some snaps this summer.
They look at all that, know, and also they look at, okay, Emory Jones. Emory Jones, remember now, was a tackle in college, but he likely projects as a guard. Where is he taking the majority of his snaps? Like when he gets out there and once he's healthy, I mean, that's a tough assignment. You got to get healthy. Then you're making the jump to the NFL, just like we talked about with Andrew, and you're changing positions. Like those are tough things. So when he gets out there in training camp, what position is he playing? Left guard, right tackle? Like where's he playing? All that stuff is going to be interesting to watch. And again, I think that the offensive line is probably going to be one of the most contested battles to make the 53.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Anyway, thank you for listening. As always, you can reach us at the lounge at ravens.nfl.net.
Big week this week.
Big week. The NFL schedule drops May 14th.
Wednesday night.
That's right. Circle that on your calendars. We'll have tons of content as well as our schedule release video.
Which is always fun.
Never going to want to miss that.
Yeah.
So make sure, and we'll be coming back on the lounge here to give you our full reaction to the schedule and all the twists and turns that it gives. And then, of course, the travel draft. So looking forward to that. Thanks for listening. We'll be back later this week.